I'm not supposed to talk about what happened at Winslow Middle School. They made me sign papers, lots of them, after I got out of the hospital. The district called it a gas leak, said I imagined the rest, trauma, delirium, but I know what I saw. I know what I heard, and I know what I lost. It was a Tuesday afternoon, right after 7th period. I teach science in room B3, down in the basement level of Winslow. The building's old, like pre-World War II old, and that whole lower level always smelled faintly of mold and old chalk dust. I'd just finished cleaning up a beaker someone had smashed during a lab lesson when the intercom buzzed sharply. Lockdown. Immediate lockdown. This is not a drill. Then, silence. No explanation. No follow-up. That was the first red flag. Even during drills, the principal always followed up with instructions. But this? Just one sentence. Cold. Mechanical. I moved to the door, locked it, killed the lights. Protocol. Most of the kids were already gone. It was the last class of the day, but 2 students had stuck around for extra credit. Sam and Susie. Smart kids. Good kids. I motioned for them to get under the lab tables and stay quiet. They followed without question. Then we waited. At first, it was normal. The kind of tense silence you get when a lockdown might be real. But then came the noise. Not footsteps, not voices, something else. A dragging sound, slow, wet, like something heavy being pulled across concrete. Then, beneath that, something like breathing, but not through lungs, gurgling. As if whatever was out there didn't understand how to breathe like we do. Susie whispered, "Mr. Dalton, I think someone's outside." I nodded. I could feel it too. Something just beyond the door. I crouched beside them, holding my breath. Then, without warning, the overhead lights flickered violently and burst. Not just our room, the hallway lights too. You could hear the glass shattering outside in sequence. Pop, pop, pop. Then we heard the door to the stairwell slam open. Boom. Something thudded down the hallway. Not walking, more like crawling, but fast, with weight. Susie started to cry. I held her hand tight and whispered, "Don't move, don't make a sound." But then the thing outside stopped, right outside our room, and it knocked. 3 slow knocks on the metal door, each one heavier than the last, not with knuckles, with something dull, blunt. Then a low, rasping voice, barely more than a hiss, came through the crack beneath the door.
"Let me show you what's beneath."
I don't know what came over me, but I mouthed, "Stay here," and crept toward the door. Something told me it was trying to lure us out. I looked through the tiny reinforced glass window. There was no one there, but the hallway was wrong. It wasn't the dingy yellow tile I knew. It was dark, warped. The walls looked like they were breathing, pulsing in and out like a lung. A faint reddish light illuminated the floor, as if it were glowing from below. Then the door behind me unlocked itself, and the handle turned on its own. I threw my weight against the door, but something was pulling it open, hard. It wasn't a person. It felt like I was fighting against a vacuum. Susie screamed. Sam yelled my name. Then came the voice again, inside my head this time.
"They never left the basement."
The door ripped open and the hallway was gone. Instead, there was a stairwell, not the one we used. This one went down. It shouldn't have been there. The school only had 1 basement level. But these stairs twisted deep into blackness like a mine shaft. The walls were flesh-colored, veined, wet. The kids stepped toward it, dazed. "Do you hear them?" Sam whispered. "They're calling us." I tried to yank them back, but they pushed me away. That's when I noticed it. Hands reaching up the stairs. Small ones, dozens of them. Tiny fingers, grasping, twitching. Children's hands. They looked burned or melted. Their nails were long. One clutched something shiny. Susie's necklace. The one her mom gave her. I slammed the door shut and shoved a metal supply cabinet in front of it. And waited. Hours passed. The sounds faded. The breathing stopped. The hallway lights came back. When I finally opened the door again, the stairwell was gone. But so were Sam and Susie. No sign of struggle. No blood. Just two piles of clothing on the floor, their shoes neatly beside them, like they'd undressed and walked into the darkness willingly. I screamed until the janitor found me. They found no trace of what I described. No alternate stairwell, no broken lights, no basement level beyond the basement. The school says the students must have run away, that I broke down and had some kind of psychotic episode, but they never came back. I don't teach anymore. I moved states, changed my name. Last week, I got a letter, no return address. Inside was a photograph. It showed a door, rusted, twisted, with a plaque above it, Room B3, and a message scrawled on the back in a child's handwriting.
We're still here, Mr. Dalton. Won't you come down and finish the lesson?
It started with the sound of the intercom crackling to life. I teach history at Alderbrook High, room 108, back of the second floor, windows looking out over the old football field. I was just finishing a lecture on the Cold War when the overhead speaker buzzed, and the principal's voice, flat, clipped, almost robotic, came through. Lockdown. This is not a drill. Lock the doors. Lights off. Stay silent. My students tensed. Some laughed nervously. Others exchanged wide-eyed glances. I raised my hand, signaling quiet, and went into protocol mode. I'd done this a dozen times before. Drills every semester. But something about the voice, it didn't sound like the principal. It didn't sound like anyone. I turned the lock on the classroom door and pulled down the window shades. "Phone's off," I whispered. "Everyone. Against the wall." We sat there in darkness. The only light came from the red glow of the exit sign. A few students were crying softly. I crouched by the door, listening. Then came footsteps. Not hurried ones, not panicked. Slow, measured. Someone, or something, walking down the hallway. Tap, 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 like hard soles on the tile. I signaled the kids to be quiet. The footsteps paused outside our door. My heart pounded in my ears. For a second, I thought whoever was out there would try the handle, but they didn't. Instead, I heard something stranger, a low, rasping breathing sound, guttural, wet. I thought about calling the office, but my phone screen had gone black. Not off, just black. No signal. I tried the landline. Dead. Then the power went out. The exit sign blinked once and died. We were plunged into absolute darkness. Some of the students began to panic. I heard whimpers, someone stifling a sob. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, when I heard a soft knock, right behind me, on the door. Then a voice. Not from the hall, from inside the room. A whisper right behind my ear.
You shouldn't have locked me out.
I spun around. Nothing. Just the faint sound of breathing. Close. Too close. I tried to turn on my flashlight, but it wouldn't work. Even the backup batteries failed. Something metallic dropped to the floor near the back of the room. A desk leg scraped across the tiles. One of the kids screamed. I crawled toward the sound, calling out names, trying to do a head count. No one answered. Instead, I heard footsteps circling the perimeter of the room. They didn't sound like any of my students. Someone, something, was moving just out of reach, just beyond what my eyes could adjust to. Then I smelled it. Rot. Like meat left in the sun, or a dead animal under the floorboards. It filled the air, thick and choking. One student, Kayla, vomited. I could hear her gagging softly in the corner. That's when the walls started whispering. At first I thought I was losing my mind, but the voices were real faint murmurs, repeating the same phrases over and over.
We see you. Why did you close the door? Let us in.
I crawled toward the door to get us out, but the handle burned to the touch. I pulled my hand back. It was blistered. Something on the other side was hot. Or maybe not heat, maybe wrongness. Then came the screaming. 3, maybe 4 students shrieked at once, not in panic, but raw terror. One boy shouted, "It's got her! It took her!" I lunged in their direction, slamming into desks, tripping over bags. My hand brushed against something wet on the floor, sticky. I don't want to describe what I touched, but I know it wasn't there before. And then, silence. I called their names again. Nothing. I stood, shivering in the darkness. A long moment passed. Then I heard another whisper, inches from my face.
There's no one left but you.
The emergency lights flickered back on. I blinked at the harsh fluorescence. Room 108 was empty. No students, no desks, no chairs. Just me, standing in a stripped, gray-walled room. My bloodied handprint smeared across the door. The door creaked open slowly. Outside, the hallway was black, like the walls were absorbing light. The locker doors were gone. The floor was gone. All that remained was a narrow, floating path, stretching forward into a chasm of shadows. Something moved at the far end, tall, thin, wrong in proportion. It beckoned. I should have run. I should have turned around, but I stepped forward. I don't remember much after that. They found me the next morning, curled up under my desk, muttering nonsense. The police said there was never a lockdown, no record of a call, no reports. Every other classroom was fine. My students, gone, erased. No files, no parents, no photos, as if they'd never existed. Room 108 has been sealed since. But at night, when the building's empty, the janitor swears he hears someone whispering from behind that door. A man, repeating the same words over and over.
Let us in. Let us in. Let us in.
I used to think lockdown drills were a joke. Just another box to check off between staff meetings and grading. But after what happened at Hollow Creek High last October, I'll never laugh at that buzzer again. I'll never step foot inside a school again, period. It was 2 o'clock, second to last period, when the lockdown alert buzzed over the intercom. Attention staff. Initiate full lockdown. Repeat, full lockdown. This is not a drill. No explanation, no gunshots, no screams, just that cold, dead voice from the main office, then silence. I was in room 201, upper floor, math wing. 18 kids in the class that day, plus me. I immediately locked the door, turned off the lights, closed the blinds. The students got quiet, quick, too quick. It was like they felt something was wrong before I even said a word. Tyler Grant raised his hand. "Mr. Rhodes, do you know what's going on?" I shook my head. "Just stay low, away from the windows." We huddled in the corner, trying not to breathe too loudly. The building was still. Even the usual hum of the AC was gone. I checked my phone. No bars. That never happens in our building. Then came the knocking. Knock, knock, knock. 3 times. At our door. Soft, measured, not panicked, not pounding. Someone whispered on the other side, "Let me in. Please, let me in. They're coming." I crept to the door and looked through the tiny glass pane, and there he was, Tyler Grant. But Tyler was sitting right behind me. I turned and looked. The real Tyler, still huddled beside Mason and Harper, was staring at the door with wide eyes. "What the hell?" "Mr. Rhodes," Tyler whispered, trembling. "Who is that?" The Tyler outside started knocking again. "It's me. I got locked out. Please, open the door." His voice was perfect. Too perfect. Like someone had recorded Tyler's real voice and was playing it back. The kids were losing it. A few started crying. One of them, Ethan, got up like he was going to open the door, and I practically tackled him. "That's not Tyler," I said through gritted teeth. Then the thing outside stopped knocking and whispered, "Fine, I'll wait." A few seconds later, we heard the same knock down the hallway. Then again, even further away, like it was moving from door to door, copying, testing. The minutes dragged like hours. Then, footsteps. Fast, scrambling, coming toward us. Suddenly, bam, someone slammed into the door from the outside. Hard. The glass cracked just a little. I saw a shape through it. Tall, thin, wrong. Its arms hung too long. Its neck bent at the wrong angle. But it still had Tyler's face. It was grinning. No lips, just teeth. Too many teeth. One of the girls sobbed, "It's trying to get in." I whispered, "Stay quiet." And then it spoke again, but not in Tyler's voice this time. It was my voice. "Kids, it's okay now. It's safe. Open the door. Mr. Rhodes says it's safe." I felt like I was going to vomit. The kids looked to me, terrified and confused. That voice, it sounded exactly like me. Not just the words, the tone, the inflection, the little pause I make between sentences. It had studied me. Then, silence. Like the school itself had stopped breathing. That's when I heard footsteps inside the room. I turned around. One of the kids was standing up. Ava, her face pale, her body stiff. "Sit down," I whispered. "Ava, sit down now." She turned and smiled. And in my voice, she said, "You already let me in." The kids screamed. I backed away. Ava's eyes rolled back, and her jaw began to unhinge. Her skin rippled like something underneath was trying to push out. Her arms snapped in opposite directions with a wet crack. I threw a chair through the window. We were on the second floor, but I didn't care. I told the kids to jump, and one by one, they did. I went last. I broke my ankle when I landed, and blacked out from the pain. They found me an hour later. I told the police everything. The second Tyler, the mimic, what happened to Ava. They found blood in room 201, but no Ava. No sign of her body. The cameras? Corrupted. Every single one. Audio files from the intercom? Deleted. The district blamed the panic on a false alarm and a malfunctioning HVAC system. Can you believe that? But here's the worst part. Last week, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a flash drive. It had one file, a recording. It was my voice, whispering,
"Let me in. I'm still waiting."
I used to think room 13 was just unlucky by name. An old, forgotten classroom buried in the east wing of Hartwell High, where I taught literature for 10 years. The district sealed it off after a fire back in the 90s. No one ever went near it. Until last November, when they reassigned me there due to construction, budget cuts, mold in my old classroom. They handed me a new key and told me, "Don't mind the draft. It's just old plumbing." On my third day in room 13, the lockdown alarm sounded. Lockdown in effect. Shelter immediately. This is not a drill. The intercom voice was low, hollow, the kind that sticks in your bones. It was 1:44 p.m., right in the middle of a quiz. I had 13 students that day. I remember that detail vividly. 13. In room 13, on the 13th of November. I told the kids to get down behind the old metal desks and turned off the lights, locked the warp door, pulled the blinds, the usual. But something about the silence that followed felt wrong. It wasn't just quiet, it was empty. The kind of quiet that makes you feel like sound doesn't exist anymore. Then the classroom changed. I don't know how else to say it. The windows, which had faced the courtyard just seconds earlier, now looked out onto nothing. Not blackness, not darkness, just blank. A fogged-out void, like the glass opened into a chalkboard erased too many times. One of the students, Ella, whispered, "Mr. Easton, where's the hallway?" I looked. The door's narrow window now showed something impossible. Not lockers, not wall paint. It showed another classroom, our classroom, from behind. Like we were seeing ourselves, but delayed by a few seconds. I saw my own silhouette move, slightly out of sync. "Some kind of projector?" I offered weakly. Then the lights started flickering, not in the normal way. These were rhythmic, deliberate, like Morse code. Two short, one long. Two short, one long. Tick, tick, whir. Tick, tick, whir. I wrote the pattern down. Later I'd realize it spelled a word in Morse. Inside. Ella began to cry. I moved to comfort her, but she recoiled. "You're not Mr. Easton," she said. "What are you talking about?" "You look like him," she whispered, "but you're not him." The other students shifted away from me. Panic. The kind that creeps in like a slow poison. I felt it too. Something in the air had changed. The temperature dropped, but only in sections, like patches of cold crawling across the room. And then, the scratching started. From beneath the floor, scratch, scratch, scratch. Then came the thumping. Bang, bang, bang. From under the floorboards, under our feet, something big, slow, angry. John stood up. "We need to get out." "No," I barked. "Stay still. It's safer." But the desk behind him melted. It folded into itself like wax in a fire, even though the room was still cold enough to see our breath. The shape that rose from the puddle of wood and metal wasn't human. It was long, featureless, smooth. It had no face, and then it took one. Mine. We watched in stunned horror as the shape turned into me. Not gradually, instantly. One blink, and it stood there smiling with my mouth. "I'm your teacher," it said. "I'll get you all out safely." That's when the real terror set in. Because the students, they believed it. They ran to it, hugged it. The fake me patted their backs and led them to the door. I screamed for them to stop. Ella hesitated, looked back, tears on her cheeks, and then they left. The door closed behind them and vanished. I was alone. I don't know how long I sat there. Hours? Days? Time was warped in room 13. My watch stopped. My phone was dead. I laughed. I cried. I screamed until my throat bled. And then I woke up. In my old classroom. Room 20. Alone. No construction. No mold. No room 13 on the school map. The administrators swore it never existed. My class roster? Empty. No students listed for the semester. Just me. I've tried to live a normal life, but sometimes, when I walk past the East Wing, I see a door that shouldn't be there. It's rusted, numbered 13,